partnership with Hudson Whiskey was important because I typically don't do many branded partnerships. But when I do, it's because it's a partnership that I actually believe in. And I've been doing a lot of work helping small businesses around New York City. So when Hudson Whiskey came to me and was like, we want to support that, I was like, okay, let's do it. So essentially the idea was to have these 2-hour happy hours 4 times a week, or 4 times throughout the course of a month, and kind of make it into like a fun, socially distant, responsible party that helps spread awareness to the bars and also put some money in their pockets. So the mom and pop drop hashtag was something that I came up with about 1.5 years ago. And originally it was just a way to give small businesses free ad space on my page. So it started with them taking selfie videos, just explaining their business and why people should, come check them out. And over time, the videos weren't as effective because not everyone is charismatic and knows what to say. So I would go to these businesses that were kind of given to me, and I would create these mini commercials for them. And people dug the posts, but it was kind of a departure from the stuff I'm usually doing, which is more like candid street stuff or interviews. So it kind of fizzled out. But then when the pandemic hit and there was the lockdown and all of our favorite businesses were being put in jeopardy, I told myself and I made a promise to myself that once these businesses started to reopen, I would go really, really hard, plugging them and supporting them. So I brought back the mom and pop drop hashtag. It started with the Army Navy bag store, which is an Army surplus store on Houston Street. And I was told by a friend that Henry, the owner, was really, really struggling and was about to close down. So I was like, okay, introduce me to him. He introduced me, I got a photo with him, and long story short, he surpassed his GoFundMe goal, which was like 50 grand, and then there were lines out the door for weeks, and it just made me realize that the community is down to help out everyone else in the community. So I kept on going with it, and here we are to this day. I've probably done 30 or 35 mom and pop drop videos, and I know that those videos aren't going to save small businesses in New York as a whole, but I'm hoping that by posting these videos, people are inspired to go out and do it on their own, and also understand that these mom and pop shops need our support. They don't have to tell you that they're struggling in order for you to support them. Because as New Yorkers, we all have so much pride, and sometimes it's hard for us to reach out for help. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm doing with the mom and pop drop.
I was actually going to ask you, how was it affected by the pandemic? But it seems like it just accelerated businesses in the community.
Yeah, I mean, the pandemic, so what I'm finding out from a majority of the mom and pop shops that I've been speaking to is most of their business comes from tourism. And obviously there's no tourism. Another thing is buying online. A lot of people, now that they don't really want to go outside as much, are just using Amazon. So there's that. There's a lot of reasons. But the main thing is that even though we're in a pandemic, rent isn't changing, and most landlords aren't really being forgiven for that matter. So yeah, staying in business was hard before the pandemic, and now it's way, way harder. So we gotta come together and support.
Yeah. And during this pandemic, we've seen a lot of kind of just social unrest in our nation in general, on top of the pandemic. So I know you were kind of vocal about Black Lives Matter, just some other things going on. Can you just talk a bit about your response to people who kind of just thought you should stick to the amazing pictures?
my biggest pet peeve is when people tell me what I can and can't say on my Instagram page. Like, I'm not a news outlet, you know, like, I'm just a person. And for you to tell me like what I should and shouldn't be talking about on my personal Instagram page is insane. So, you know, I typically tend to not talk too much about politics, and that's just a personal choice. But for something like Black Lives Matter, that I don't even consider that political. That's just human rights. So for people to be like, you know, maybe I post something from a march I went to, a Black Lives Matter march, and they're like, no, unfollowing, this page is getting too political. It's like, what are you talking about? This isn't a political post. This is just saying that black people have rights. So, but that's when racism really comes out, I think. And those are people that I don't really want following me anyway, so it's all good.
Yeah. And then, so for the charities you've helped, what charities have you helped, and how did you choose them?
So I was fortunate enough to support a lot of charities over the pandemic, just because I've held a lot of challenges, I've done a lot of fundraisers, and who have I supported? Wow, there are a lot, so it's kind of hard to rattle them off. Henry Street Settlement, Color for Change, Black Lives Matter, NAACP, Food Bank of New York, Meals on Wheels, Campaign Against Hunger, God's Love New York. There's a lot more.
It's a good list.
But, yeah, good list. I've been supporting community fridges around Brooklyn, because I feel like those are really important. I live in Bed-Stuy, and I know that people in that area, like Bushwick, Bed-Stuy, really rely on those fridges, so doing that.
For people who are outside of here, how would you describe yourself, your art, and just like all that encompasses you in like one sentence?
Oh, in one sentence?
The one sentence elevator.
Wow. I mean, this is a cop-out, but the bio, my Instagram bio is the unofficial talent scout of New York. And yeah, that can apply to anything and everything. Talent being like physical talent, like, I don't know, I'm on a tangent, I'm already over one sentence, but let's just leave it at the unofficial talent scout of New York. That's how I would explain myself.
Nice. And then last but not least, the Hudson Whiskey. What is it? Whiskey as bold as New York. How are you feeling this whiskey?
How am I feeling it?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm feeling it. I'm definitely a fan of whiskey, and this doesn't disappoint. I'm happy that it's a New York whiskey too. Yeah, good whiskey. Good whiskey.